Is AI really killing SaaS, or a historical turnaround is around the corner? Let's dissect it in today's episode of Loonies and Rupees.
Yeah, loonies and rupees. From the Bay Street hustle to the Bombay flow, watching that liquidity only ever grow. Talking market cap, we on a different wave. Stacking all the paper, yeah, the capital we save. Hit you with the bullish trend, yeah, you know the vibe. This the wealth accumulation, time to get alive. Loonies and rupees, that's the bottom line.
Hello, everyone. We have been hearing a lot that SaaS companies like Google, Microsoft, and other major tech companies are diving into AI, and they are spending a lot of their capital expenditure in getting an edge from their competitors in AI industry. Let's see how much of investment these companies are making, and let's look into what these investments are going towards. So, Yogesh, you might have heard that a lot of good companies like Google, Microsoft, and even any tech company in industry nowadays wants to be called an AI company, and they don't want to miss on this gold rush. So, what do you think about it, and how much capital is being expenditure is happening on AI from these companies?
So, first of all, AI is the biggest revolution till date in the history of mankind, right? And in order to facilitate that, companies are, going way and beyond and spending so much of the money and their resources to be, what we say, a AI first company of the future, right? Everything has to be in the future, but they have to spend it in today's money to be able to rule the market in the future. So no company wants to be second in this race, and there are companies, you know killing each other almost just to be, survivals in this era. So AI, it's like almost either the company like embraces it and moves forward and becomes, 5 times better or 10 times better in revenue generations, profitability, their productivity, or they are going to be completely obsolete. So we have seen that not so long ago in the internet era, where the companies like Amazon, who were like uh, kind of a booksellers, but they accepted, like they embraced internet with open arms. They made their company, a online platform, and then everybody knows in this world what Amazon does now, right? But they were the first ones who spent it hand over fist to be first on internet and make sure everything from the internet perspective, like the consumer sitting on the other end could search easily, find what they need, and then order and get it as soon as possible. So they were like a prime example of the company who embraced internet and run away with it and killed companies on the other end, like pets.com, right? And there were so many other companies which, did not want to spend that money then, which seemed like a high amount. But those companies failed to realize that like those were the survival things which they must have done in order to, be a company of the future. So we take that lesson and apply it today in 2026. It is practically impossible to see a world without AI, and you have to, as a company, you have to embrace it in one way or the other. Somehow, increase your productivity, get better margins, so that you can survive in a, very high competitive world in the future. Because if you are not embracing it, if you are not spending that money today, somebody else will, and you will be lagged behind, and there will be no dollars for you to grab or make money. Like it'll be like, this is not a choice which, you either or make. You have to do this. That's why companies like Meta, Amazon, Google, and Nvidia. Everybody, every major tech company is spending hand over fist, and the numbers are approaching over 700 billion just for this year. The capex number have risen like almost 100% from previous year, and it's expected to hit a trillion next year. So the spending race isn't slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, understood. And rightly said, as you were mentioning, that it's not even a choice anymore. They have to do it. And I believe this is what stock market is fearing right now, that no matter if there is a goal or not, everybody is buying, be it chips, be it data centers, be it places where they can invest in terms of coming year, like models and in talent. And I have seen big companies getting out of their comfort zone as Amazon did back in .NET boom, like SaaS companies coming in chip making and other stuff, and even data centers. They're trying to own as much hardware they can right now so that they should be able to provide the services they want to in the future and generate revenue from it. And I'm not sure it's rightly or not, but currently, what I can understand from the stock market is SaaS companies being beaten in the past couple of months. Market do think like a bit of overspending is happening there, and definitely given how stock market trades or treats the companies, they always value the ones receiving the money, not the ones spending it. But looking at it from a bit of value investing or a longer prospect, I think SaaS companies are putting a lot of investment into revenue, major chunk of revenue, which is going to be the future of their services moving forward.
Yeah, so talking about SaaS companies, their stock prices have been severely hurt. There are companies which are down over 60-70% from their highs, and I can relate that directly. I can pinpoint the day when that started happening. The day was when Anthropic released Claude Code. So with that product, that is a phenomenal product, by the way. I have no doubt on the Anthropic's product, their ability to innovate as much as quickly as quickly as possible. But market has perceived that there will be a day where somebody could vibe code Adobe, right? That's why their stock is in gutter while the revenues are still growing. Stock is going down. It's going the opposite direction of their fundamentals. So the only explanation we can think of is that somebody, like the market as collectively or majority of the market, is thinking that someday somebody will be able to vibe code Adobe, right? And there are so many examples of similar situations, like where we have companies like Figma, stock is down. We have companies like Salesforce, stock is down because they think Salesforce could be replaced and somebody would be able to come up with a better product, vibe coded by AI, and will be able to sell it to enterprises at a cheaper rate than Salesforce, right? Another
Yeah.
example, ServiceNow. There are multiple software companies which are down just because people have this perception that AI would be able to replace them. But my argument here would be, so when planes were introduced or planes were invented, that did not remove the needs for cars. So wherever you need a car to take you to, you won't need a plane for that, right? But plane will be needed where you think your car will be taking so long, and it will be unproductive for your time and your money spent. So you would rather take a flight from Toronto to New York, right? It would be a 2 hour or 1 hour flight, but on car you might have to drive like 5 to 6 hours, right? So Similarly, in AI, like you would be able to explain it better than me technically, but I believe like you won't be needing AI to do stuff where you could, do it better anyways with the other software applications. That's my first point. Like, and my second point there is that you cannot make, network effects, and you cannot build trust with anybody's product, right? So if I came up with a product tomorrow, who would trust me with my product? Like, how would I go into a enterprise and will be able to sell it, right? Why won't Salesforce make a similar product and walk into that same enterprise which they are working with already and just upsell them that product? Why would they accept me as a vendor than a Salesforce or a ServiceNow? Like, people don't realize those moats are in the network effects and the overtime trust they have built, the data they have collected through that enterprise. They would be able to just put AI on top as an ontology and make that enterprise better on its own. Why would a third party enter, and why would enterprise trust them with their data to a random person just to save few bucks? I don't think enterprise works, that way. They want to protect their data. They want to work with people who they trust, and they want to work with companies who have a history of providing and keep on their innovation going, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to be stuck with a newcomer, and then you have security breaches, and there could be so many things which could go wrong with that narrative. So
And
according to me, it's just a narrative. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. So I want to ask you technically, like, you work with Salesforce products, right? You're familiar with the products. You think like if somebody using Claude Code would be able to replace their systems, whatever Salesforce provide? You think is it possible? Is it that easy?
I will not say they will be able to replace Salesforce. It's a product that existed in industry for long enough now and has evolved a lot. Just to understand the complexity and the structure behind what all services it can provide reliably, it's a big commitment for somebody to just wipe code it and provide it. Yes, they can be close, but that again comes with a turn that you mentioned that the reliability will be in question. And when a product like Salesforce is being used by any corporation or big enterprises, it's not just about the product, it's about the service that comes with the product. So they're not just selling the product, they sell the reliability of that, the security of it. Imagine using a third party tool for CRM other than Salesforce and ending up getting your data gone to security breach just because that code that was done by AI had some loopholes, even though like you can try to make it better. I think there doesn't exist something called a replacement of an existing system. They can try to work with them to make their systems competitive better. And on top of everything, I believe we also have to understand one thing. If a newbie has or any other company have AI, so does Salesforce. So if Salesforce is here today and the other person is here and trying to catch up with Salesforce, Salesforce still have enough room to grow in terms of how they can best use AI and already help their existing customers to strengthen their moat and also provide more services within that existing platform. So I think that goes across the other SaaS companies as well, especially companies like Microsoft, which sell their services as bundle. I'm sure when ChatGPT came, nobody was expecting to use it so soon in form of Copilot in their browsers or in their IDEs when we do software development. So the enablement of using your existing product on top of AI layer is something that is really um, better or I will say a cutting edge for the existing SaaS companies. And I still remember Google fell the day ChatGPT was launched like crazy because, oh, nobody's going to search anymore. But later on, people realized like, how is ChatGPT getting its result from? Eventually, it's hitting some APIs back in there, which are eventually using search engines like Google to get this information. So it's a whole ecosystem which will not make some companies disappear completely. Yes, definitely, if you don't take any step at all, coming back to our point of initially, it's not an option, it's not a choice. They have to do it. They have to make themselves AI enabled. They have to get in the race and not be left out. If imagine Salesforce right now doesn't do anything and say AI can't do anything to me. 5 years from now, Salesforce will be replaced. But Salesforce is not doing that. No company in IT right now is doing that. From small to big, everybody wants to make sure they increase their product strength, product availability, as well as their service offerings can widen with the use of AI. So replacing existing ecosystem is not that easy as market is expecting, and we have also started to see some results in terms of revenues being generated with AI investments. Would you like to talk about some of the big companies which are currently investing in AI heavily and are already seeing results in terms of either revenues already coming or promised revenues in the coming quarters?
So I would like to talk about Meta, because that is the least expected company to, make use of AI. And in my knowledge, they are the best users of AI currently. They are the only company which have re-accelerated. I mean, the bigger companies, out of the bigger companies, they are the only company, they have re-accelerated their revenue growth. And they are, saying that it's all because of AI. So now they are saying AI is making their search in, like, their recommendation engines better. They are able to show right ads to right people, and are able to extract more dollars from the advertisers. So now, with the help of AI, how they are able to charge their advertisers more, because advertisers are getting more dollars per dollar spent. So they are getting more revenue for a dollar of advertisement spent on Meta platforms. So when when a dollar in Meta ads is generating you $3, right? Why wouldn't you just keep on going? Why wouldn't you just increase your spend and just keep on going? Because that is the reason Meta's revenue has re-accelerated. Their person they are selling their ads to are getting more engaged due to the recommendation engine, which is, feeding back to the advertisers who are advertising and getting more dollars, per dollar spent. So that is the reason Meta has re-accelerated their growth. And company is also expected to get to a better margin after this AI spend is, slowed down or over, right? Right now they are spending like drunken sailors, but that is not going to be forever. No company can spend in perpetuity like that, right? But they are the ones, leading the company from almost 20 years now. Mark is at the steering wheel, and he knows what's coming more than anybody in the market, and he is seeing that ROI already. So once you're in the steering wheel and you can see the ROI, why wouldn't you just keep on spending, right? Market just gives them, market doubts on their ability to, make return on the investment, but they are failing to recognize that the return has already started. So similarly with Amazon, like, oh my god, we cannot even, describe it completely, where Amazon can, use AI and make everything better for their company and for the, people they service. uh, on top of my mind, I can think of like using AI in their warehouses, making, you know delivery systems better, making their fleet management better, making their, I don't know, the way they, the way they, keep a workforce, uh, you know how they manage their workforce, I mean, because Amazon has a high workforce, high employee number. So managing that workforce with the use of AI could actually eliminate 10% of the workforce, because 10% of the people are managing the other 90%, right? So Amazon could be a real beneficiary in this zone. And also they have the cash machine, which is called AWS, right? Their cloud services. They use those cloud services, they use AI in the cloud system. And whatever enterprises are using it on the other end could just use AI products within AWS as well, right? So that's why the spend makes sense for them. Similarly for Google, similarly for companies like Microsoft, they are very identical other than the search business, right? So they are servicing people, and with the AI, with the help of the AI, they are able to generate more demand for their products. And so why wouldn't they just keep on spending for now and make sure they have the major share of data center build out, so that they can service the compute they have demand for and get the money in return. Especially these companies are making most of their money currently from the compute demand, which is coming from their cloud businesses. But eventually their core products will be the ones making them a lot of money as well. Because once this build out is over, the spend is over, at the end you have to service the consumer and get paid, right? So
Yeah.
Microsoft will be able to service their enterprises way better than before, get them a better ROI on whatever they are using, and then in return Microsoft makes more money with less dollars spent on employees and other R&D stuff, right?
Yeah.
So embracing AI currently makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's good that you touched base on their core businesses. What I can also see is every good SaaS company is trying to strengthen their core model with the AI. It's not that they're trying new stuff a lot. Their first goal is to strengthen their core business. So, for example, Google, Microsoft, AWS, as you mentioned, they are trying to leverage the AI computation power through cloud, which was their highest revenue models anyways. So not just cloud as infrastructure. Now they are trying to move into territories like AI as infrastructure, providing compute services. So if anybody, like as you mentioned, is planning to even make Salesforce out of vibe coding, they still be using these companies. Their power, their token expenditure will generate revenue for such companies. So they're kind of building on top of their existing foundation of cloud models they have, and then they are trying to make the best out of the performance they can get on an existing network, and plus provide wider range of services. Same similar thing with other platforms like Meta you mentioned. They have they have not tried to do something new. They have an existing social media dominance. They have used that dominance to better their advertising agencies. Their models are focusing on making the most out of the revenue that can be generated out of it. So rather than trying something completely new, companies, especially um, big tech SaaS companies, are trying to enhance their existing business models with the power of AI, which, if looked at from a point of view of a new invention, might not seem like a big new invention, but things take turns slowly. And I believe how we are looking at things right now, things are going to change very different in coming time. I was thinking yesterday when I was watching the FIFA match that probably this is the last FIFA match without too much intervention of AI, because next World Cup, trust me, you will see the difference between this World Cup to next World Cup. AI will have taken care of a lot of things, and so many discrepancies that were probably brought up this time will not even be there for us to see next time. So some similar things that we see big companies doing also are being noticed by other big tech firms, like not tech firms, I will say investment firms like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. they have their different takes on it. And even though a general investor might think that we are overspending in AI, these big firms have their different takes on it. So, what would you like to say about Goldman Sachs saying that they are bullish on AI, or Morgan Stanley saying they're positive on AI? What do you think they are looking at what general people are not able to look at?
So they're obviously big companies, who analyze the market at any given point. But I would like to remind everybody that any outside bank, no matter how big it is, and any outside analyst firm, no matter how much credible it is, they're always the outsiders looking inside to every transformation. If you have listened to the analyst community or the banking community and their opinions on it, because they always differ and they are always changing with the changing stock prices. So it's really hard to keep track of what Goldman was saying when Amazon stock was in gutter, right? Right now it's touching all time highs, so they keep changing uh, their opinions on based of the market sentiments, right? So you always have to remember that these people are the ones trying to make look at a situation, look at a stock price, and make a calculated opinion about what's going on right now. But if you have listened to them in past any technological change, you have missed all the gains. You have not been able to outperform the market if you are listening to the outside analysts. So in especially in the AI world, how quickly things are changing, it you have to rely on your own gut, on your own research. It is very important you look at valuations these days, especially because we are approaching that bubble territory. We keep hearing this word. The best way to secure yourself from the AI bubble or any kind of bubble is you always pin it back to fundamentals. So if the fundamentals are growing and the stock price is following it, or fundamentals are catching up to the stock price, that is the scenario you're always looking for. But there are cases which you will find in this AI era where the stock prices have risen in resemblance to the other company which is in the same field and doing better. So for example, there is a company in cloud business, right? So if Amazon the stock price is going up with a good news for cloud compute demand, there are other smaller companies who are selling cloud, their stock prices are following that narrative. Even though they are not showing any revenue growth or any sort of traction, their stock prices are currently following that whole narrative that the demand is growing, right? Demand is exponential. Again, this is how bubbles are formed. Bubble will not be in the Amazon stock which is actually showing you the revenues. The bubble will happen somewhere else, where people are just throwing money, thinking that we have a smaller company, a smaller, maybe a proxy of the bigger company, will be able to make more money off of the other one, right? Because it's a smaller market cap. That is where people lose a lot of their hard earned money, because they get carried away in the narratives and do not research their fundamentals properly. So in the AI world, it is very very important to take it back to the fundamentals and you'll be fine.
Okay, sounds good. So if I'll take just 2 minutes to wrap up this video, I'll ask you something. Are you bullish or bearish on AI in short term and long term?
Man, I'm bullish AI, shorter term and longer term both. Okay, the speed in which things are changing, how can you not be bullish in a year? Like Meta just pulled a rabbit out of the hat. So in the last 1 year they were being looked as a company which were falling behind, no model improvements and a lot of capex, right? Couple days back they released a new model which is already surpassing Opus 4.5, and the other one, the Fable model by Anthropic. It is already at par or crossing the benchmarks for those models. Like, how can you not be bullish shorter term too? Because you don't know what the other company is going to come out with and they're working on, right? I'm just always looking for surprises every other week. There are some announcements which are very, very interesting. So with that in mind, the shorter term perspective is also bullish, but with a cautious approach on the stock prices, that if it's showing a too much optimism, you need to control your horses and be uh, touch base with fundamentals of the company. And for longer term, I think this is a as I mentioned in the beginning, this is the most important technological revolution we have seen till date in our lifetime and the history of the world, right? So longer term, I think we are ready to get surprised by AI. Like, it'll reach its boundaries and we are not even able to comprehend what's going to happen. So with that, I would like to ask you, how what's your opinion of it?
Yeah, I have some similar opinions, but I also like short term, I'm not very bullish, but I believe no matter what happens, long term we'll see results, especially for our investments. The reason I'm not so much bullish about short term is because the market is already paying too much price of things that have not generated revenue, and sometimes it's not that they will not generate revenue. Market can become impatient as well. So I don't expect overnight swings like crazy, but in longer terms, as these investments start to generate some revenue, you will see stock prices rising and they will be giving you better returns.
All right, guys, watch where you spend and take care of yourself. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.